Hmm. We're going to have a little bit of music here because I ran into some internet problems here. Give me 2 seconds to fix this. And I am back. Wow. I didn't notice until someone had called me. I didn't notice until someone had called me that something. I said, "What?" Welcome back to Uncommon Sense with Dr. Mel Gill. Give me a thumbs up if you are in the studio and listening to me, so that I know that you are back, or on Facebook, or on YouTube, if you can hear me, and there are no internet problems. Raise your give me a thumbs up, or hearts are good too. Send me lots of hearts, or spleens, or livers, or lungs, so I know you're here. Good. Thank you so much. Josephine is on board. People are on board. And here on live stream, they are on board. And StreamYard, you're on board. Yeah, I'm back. I didn't know where I cut off. So can someone tell me where you heard me stop speaking? So because I went on and on and on, and then I received a phone call that said, "Hey, guess what? You're off the air." Oh, okay. All right. Do you remember? Can you tell me where we stopped? Someone give me a sentence. You were talking about here or here. Let me know so that I can start again. Finishing that idea. So I could use your help in doing this, actually. I thought you were kidnapped by aliens. Yes, illegal aliens. I wanted to experience life in Mexico. And so I said, yeah, I'll take a ride. The group that kidnapped me is called Despacito. I think you've heard of them. And so they were very adamant until they heard me start singing. And then they threw me out of the saucer. And so, of course, I came back crashing to Earth, and I'm here with internet problems. And I just saw why. This wire is not staying in my computer. It's like when I have somebody to who comes and cleans this place, she just kind of pulls stuff out. And so I now have to find some more tape and stick things together to my computer, which means that this now becomes permanent. Orland says, your happiness does not depend on anyone or anything. Okay. Your happiness doesn't depend on anyone or anything. Okay. Wow, that's a long ways back. That means I was talking for about 10 minutes without realizing that I was off the air. Wow. Let me continue anyway. This what you talked about. Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Orlin. The difference between running a live program and running a program that is recorded is that I can watch all of these variables, make sure that we're on, and if we get cut off for any reason, whatever, I can always fill in the blanks and all of this. And maybe at some point, maybe not this week or next week or the week after, but soon I will move to all pre-recorded so that it'll be a little bit easier. But I will I will save the live. I will save the live for questions and answers. Would that make sense to everyone? And maybe then we can run a better show also at the same time. but the general point I want to say is that you can live happily anywhere. Um, it should be clear to you that if you don't have green fields where you are, well, plant green fields um, in that spot or anywhere you want. That nothing is any different from here, for there, for everywhere. You can be up in the hills, you can be up and down by the sea, by the beach. The environment that you are unhappy with can be altered by you. I was talking about my house, for instance. People who do come and visit me at some point are very intrigued by my house and the things I have on the walls and the paintings and the this and the that and the way I have everything. It's like everything tells a story. There is something in there, and it changes from time to time. So you never know. Hey, Keegan Kong, happy 44th birthday, young man. Keegan Kong is one of the best known actors in Singapore. Very, very talented. And one day when I make a film about me, I want him to play me. Not Brad Pitt, him, because, he has a clear sense of character. And I remember Keegan when my children were little, and I was still doing the radio show in Singapore. And you invited us to come and watch you play Hamlet. And they were intrigued. And I've never seen both of them go. Usually when I drag them to Shakespearean plays like Macbeth and all of that, they're always, both of them look like this. Like that. They're all asleep. But they really paid attention. And when you went into the audience, and I don't know if you remember that, you jumped off, and I thought that was exciting. You came towards my daughter, Aurora, and she was like freaked. She there's still holes in my arm. Was it Romeo and Juliet? It may have been Romeo and Juliet. Oh, it was Romeo and Juliet years ago. And you were playing Mercutio. That's right. And she just totally freaked. But she loved it. And she loved you. She had a huge crush on you as well. I'm not supposed to say that, but it's true. She's going to scream at me now if she's listening to this program. But Keegan is flying between Singapore and Australia, and he does all the Masters of the Sea and things like that as well, some programs. I've been out of Singapore a lot. I've been in I was going to say a bumfuck place. It's a place where nobody goes to. Bulgaria, Varna. No one comes to visit because they don't expect anything to be there, but it's gorgeous and it's beautiful because nobody comes to visit. And so I spend a lot of time there alone. And so I'm not paying attention too much. Nice to see you, young man. Let's chat some more. Tomorrow, let's pick up the phone and talk with each other. My number is still the same. Hasn't changed in years. And what we're talking about, being happy wherever you are. If you're unhappy with your environment, change it. I changed my exterior environment to make it beautiful, peaceful. It brings out the creativity in me. I wasn't happy that I was not so productive in this particular place, and so I created a studio over there, and I started to build it. And whenever something happens, it would be very, very near. Yes. It's very near Atlantis, Keegan. If you make a triangulation, like an equilateral triangle between Varna, not Burgas, even though Burgas is a bigger city. Varna is the most ancient city you can ever imagine. Varna to Istanbul, and then with a compass, take it out to the sea, and then from Istanbul, the same length, you will find that inside the water, 1.5 kilometers deep, is the remnants of a city wall about 30 or 40 kilometers by 30 or 40 kilometers. And it's a city, obviously. And once upon a time, the Black Sea was about 200 to 300 meters lower than it was now. It was all fresh water before the Bosphorus Straits opened and the seawater from the Mediterranean rushed in. That's why the salt content in the Black Sea is not as much as it is in the Mediterranean, just to let you know. Good night to my friend in Japan, and it's past midnight. Some of my other friends who tell me they listen to me on this show for one reason only, and that's because they're not paying attention to what I'm saying, but they love my voice and they use my voice to put themselves to sleep. So one day we will run a hypnosis where I'll put you into a dream state so that you can have whatever it is you desire, a lucid dreaming state to be able to find a solution to a problem or a situation you're grappling with. And by morning, you will find an answer, and then we'll stop there. Would that be useful? Maybe. I don't know. Eddie Queck, welcome to the program. So, yeah, Keegan, just to let you know. Yes, and also they found when they dug in one of the streets that where no cars come on, it's like a shopping paradise in the middle of Varna, the center of Varna. And it was very interesting because when they were digging in front of the church and repaving the whole thing, they found skeletons that were inexplicably large skeletons. We're talking 10-foot or 12-foot skeletons of people. Now, a lot of people denied that. The government denied that. But luckily, a lot of people took pictures. And so we have them. The pineal gland. Well, in the past, the pineal gland was very important for us to be able to discern day and night, daytime and nighttime for us. It was one of those very important things, located an inch behind the spot. If you connect your eyebrows and right in the middle, just above your nose, your bridge here, and send something in about an inch or two, you will find your pineal gland. And they say that because of the water that we're drinking and because of some of the foods that we're taking into our body, that it's calcified. So that means your pineal gland cannot feel or see, your third eye, quote unquote, cannot feel or see things. Your pineal gland is important right now when you take melatonin, and it starts to help you to see, live in this something called diurnal cycle of day and night, so that you can balance your day and night. People like me who travel a lot from one time zone to another time zone, we need the melatonin to help us calm ourselves down and go to sleep. But a lot of people now are asking people to decalcify the pineal gland. And maybe if I start talking, it's 5 minutes to 11. Are you kidding me? We don't have enough time even to finish with this thing. Maybe tomorrow we'll talk about the pineal gland. And let me write that down. Tomorrow, tune in, 9 p.m. Singapore time and 9:30 p.m. Singapore time, 9:30 a.m. New York time, 4:30 p.m. Bulgarian time. We'll spend the entire session talking about the pineal gland and how you can decalcify. And I will start to teach you a little bit about remote viewing and how you can have some of those skills. Not hoo-ha, but something the governments of the United States spent $17 million on a project called Project Stargate, literally. To allow these talented folks to be able to remote view locations of enemy missiles and munitions and all of them, and to be able to target them, and how to have that kind of skills. There are 7 different levels that you have to go through. The highest level, of course, is absolute clarity, where you can go and be anywhere in the universe you want without having to, and be able to discern what is fantasy from what is reality, because that's the first thing that has to, first skill you have to learn at level 1 to be able to discern all of that. So it'll be a very interesting subject. And I suspect one day is not going to be enough, so we'll talk about that. But today, let's wrap up on Stoicism. What causes a lot of people a lot of misery is their homes, the places they live, and the wish to be somewhere else. So I can tell you what I did, and you can do the same. If I didn't like where I am, I made where I am beautiful. at least on the inside, if not on the outside. If I have a chance to affect it, I will do it. So building and creating things out of nothing is my forte. This is what I love to do. I watch programs on do-it-yourself. There's a DIY channel, and they build everything from pools to cabins to what have you. And then I realized some of my skills in doing all of this are related to such, and that I've actually even helped my cousin in many years ago in Canada build her own house with her then husband at that time. So it's very, very interesting topic to change your environment. Some people are so unhappy where they are. You know, they live in the suburbs, but they wish they live in the city, or vice versa. They live in the city, wish they lived in the suburbs. You may be living in some crowded environment. You want to live in the countryside. People say, well, you live in Singapore. The population density is 15,000 people per square kilometer on this island. So how do you get to be alone? Well, the virus has helped a lot. But also at the same time, I'm in the north of the island. There, we grew up, the whole family, here, surrounded by jungle. And they cleared part of the jungle, created an estate called Ang Mo Kio on the other side of that. And then they cleared another part of the jungle behind the churches over here. And there used to be pig farms and everything else here. Now they've made houses and homes, and they're building a highway. Like we don't have enough highways. That on this tiny little Kuchirat of an island, that people need to go even faster from one tiny spot to another tiny spot. Nobody wants to take the usual long way. Singapore is an island nation that is 15 kilometers by 30 or 25 kilometers. 5 million people on this island. Well, I avoid the city, obviously, and I spend a lot more time here. I go only if I have to, have useless meetings with people. And I say useless because they always run about. We always have meetings, but we never have solutions. So anyway, some people want to live in the beach. So some people may want to live on an island. They want to buy their own island. So let's ask Richard Branson how he feels about owning his own island, or Tony Robbins about owning part of one island. In the countries that actually own the islands that they buy, quote unquote buy, until they die, have stipulations that you have to build a resort to be able to do that, and the resort has to be a certain value. Then they can continue to live there and buy, and so on and so forth. Maybe when you live on an island, you may prefer the convenience of living in a suburb instead. Who knows? Or a city. You might get tired of it sometime. So people have waves in which they're tired of something and they want something else, and so on and so forth. It unfortunately even happens in some relationships when you are not able to look at the extra dimensions around the person that you are in love with or feeling love for. If you were happy with where you lived and the home you lived in, and you don't desire to be anywhere else or in a bigger or better home, how much more energy will you have? How much more money will you have? How much more attention could you have for the things in life, to better your life, to make it even better? People always have this idea that the grass is always greener on the other side. People come to me and they say, Mel, I want to do what you do. I want to travel and do. Well, to be able to do that, you have to give up a lot of things. To be able to travel the world means that a lot of times you don't have any real relationships with anyone. You are not in one place long enough to build a relationship. You're not in one place long enough to miss a particular thing, and nowhere on the planet feels like home, except then you start to take a helicopter view and all of a sudden you are home, because Singapore is home, Chicago is home, New York is home, Varna, Bulgaria is home. Or when sometimes I'm spending an inordinate amount of time in Slovenia, it feels like home. I assimilate, I become part of, because then we realize that on the surface, what we see as countries are not really countries at all, and that really one Earth. And then eventually we die and we leave all this behind. And this is my biggest learning, actually, and my biggest learning lesson in life, that nobody is happy where they live. My friends in New York City, like Ashok and all of that, wish they lived in someplace like Tokyo. And my friends in Tokyo wish they lived in London or even in New York City. So, and the London friends, of course, wish they lived in San Francisco, wish they lived in Singapore, and da 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 da. So rather than switch it up, think to yourself, the grass is greener on my side. The grass is greener on my side. And if there's not enough grass, it's time for me to plant some more. So that's exactly what I did. I got seeds from Bulgaria to be able to do that. And vegetables. And can you imagine vegetable seeds? So even if where you live sucks, you can find positives in it. If you live in a boring place, well, it will force you to be more creative, to find interesting things to build up your interestingness in the place. It might be an opportunity to start something interesting as a build project, even. You're the master of your own destiny. You decide. Never complain about where you live. Reap all the benefits of the neighborhood, of the city, of the place you live. I mean, there's always good things to pay attention to. In Singapore, there are so many good things to pay attention to. Yes, there are negatives to pay attention to as well, but why? For what? They will show themselves at some point, and then you deal with them there. So, like I told Ala earlier, write a list of positive things and negative things about the home that she lives in, the career choices she's got, the neighborhood that she's in, or even the city or the country. And then at some point, when you take a look at the negatives, you will want to also create the positives of where you have, or what you or where you want to be, and so on and so forth. You will have a roadmap of skills that you need to build to be able to get there at some point. So think of all the other places you would prefer to live in the world. Some people watch a YouTube program and they say, oh, this beautiful Alaska is so remote, and the Arctic Circle is so gorgeous, and there's northern lights, but it's also fucking freezing cold. And we're talking about minus 50 degrees centigrade. So it's Celsius. That's really cold. We're talking stand outside, take a pee, and your penis disappears because it's become an icicle. So you have to pay attention to that. What appears nice and beautiful may not be the place that you want to live anyway. So take a look at everything: cost of living, and then if you want to, at some point, to be happy where you are, help the common good, help everybody. Because the person who lives for himself or herself is truly dead to other people. But when you serve, then you turn all that around. You become an important facet in people's lives. You become someone that people can turn to get all the simple things in life done. And then you'll be much happier as well. So how do you find your purpose or your sense of mission in life? Very, very simple, people. Think of how you can best help the common good. First of all, number one, and then avoid all actions that are haphazard or purposeless, or and let every action aim at this common good, and then your purpose starts to hone itself for the common good. To be honorable and purposeful as a human being is to help other people. I mean, simply, if you want to talk about virtues, which is what Stoicism is all about, virtues and living by virtues, you need to help others who are not so fortunate as you are. And then you'll be much happier. Serangoon Gardens Estate, Josephine. I love this place. There used to be my first taste of chicken a la king was in that center square where, when the road comes down, you pass the gas station into Serangoon Gardens, and then right in the center, before they built all these beautiful restaurants, new stuff, there was only one restaurant, like a bar, a little bit. And when I was 17 years old, I brought my quote-unquote date over there, and tasted chicken a la king. And it never left my senses at that point. I don't remember the date, but I remember the dish. Kind of tells you what my priorities are. So piling on good deeds one after the other until no rift or cranny appears between all of them is the way in which to find out what good you can do for other people. It's hard, I know, but we need to learn how to do good for others without expecting any sort of return. Because the good act itself is enough. That's it. You don't need anything else. To be human, to be alive, is to help other people, basically. It's 11 o'clock, and I think I may need to bring this to a close. Tomorrow we will begin, as my friend Keegan from Australia. Are you in Australia, Keegan? Let me know where you are. If you're here in Singapore, we'll get together at some point, but don't tell other people. We'll go shopping for groceries together, maybe. Be very interesting stuff. And we will talk about the pineal gland. Well, thank you, Keegan. I appreciate it. Keegan has a keen eye for the obvious, which is I'm wonderful. Just kidding, Keegan. And good, I'm in Singapore too, and I'll be here until we are what, in May? Is it May, June, July, August? I'll be here until September. So we got plenty of time. So we don't have to do this all immediately. But let's not take this program much further than... Let's end it here, and tomorrow we'll talk about your third eye, your pineal gland, Keegan. And then maybe next week we'll talk about your other glands, if you like. Even if a person glimpses God, there's still cuts and splinters and burns along that journey to God. You've been through a very rough time, and it doesn't seem to be easing up. There's a lot of things that lie in wait for you that are pleasant and unpleasant. So often we anticipate a reward sometimes for the uncovering of truth. And for effort, we expect money and recognition. For the things that we do, for sacrifice and kindness, we secretly expect acceptance and love. And for honesty, we expect justice. And yet, as we all know, the life of experience unfolds with a logic all of its own and defies everything that we could ever conceive. And very often this effort is seen and kindness is embraced and the risk of truth is held as the foundation of how humans relate to each other. However, the reward in and of itself for breathing is not applause, but air. The reward for climbing is not promotion, but a new sight, a new view. The reward for kindness is not being seen as kind, but the electricity that comes with giving that keeps us alive, that makes us human. It seems the closer we get to the core of all being, the more synonymous the effort and its rewards. Who could have guessed? The reward for uncovering the truth is the experience of being honest, or honest being. The reward for understanding is the peace of knowing. The reward for loving is being the carrier of love. It becomes elusively simple, but we don't want to see that, or we're not able to see that. The river's sole purpose is to carry water. And as the force of water deepens and widens the riverbed, the river fulfills its purpose more. And likewise, the riverbed of the heart is worn open over time to carry what is living. All this tells us that no amount of thinking can eliminate the wonder and pain of living. No wall, or avoidance, or denial, no cause or excuse can keep the rawness of life from running through us. So while this may be at times seemingly devastating, it's actually reassuring. Because while the impermanence of life, if fixed on, can be terrifying, leaving us preoccupied with death, this very same impermanence, if we allowed its infinite frame, can soothe us in the understanding that even the deepest pain shall pass. So ask yourself this simple question. How does it taste? Life. How does life taste? How does love taste? How does happiness taste? The more spacious and larger our fundamental natures, the more bearable the pains are in living and being alive. And that's where we return to spirit. And that's where we return to happiness, because that was, is, will always be our natural state. I want to thank you for listening, tuning in to this program. It's called Uncommon Sense. And you're listening to the voice of Dr. Mel Gill. Good night, everyone.
In the morning of my life, minutes take so long to breathe away. Please be patient with your life.
Looking forward to seeing you.
It's only morning and you're still to live your day.
Pleasure, Jonah.
In the evening, I will fly you to the moon, to the top right-hand corner of the ceiling in my room, where we'll stay until the sun shines another day. To swing on clouds line, may I be your name.
Good night, buddy.
Taste the morning
Good
of
to
my life. In the daytime, I will meet you as before. You will find me waiting by the ocean floor, building castles in the shifting sands, in a world that no one understands. In the morning, it's the morning of my life.